Welcome to the Soulcery Podcast, your sacred space to delve into spiritual tools, topics, and practices that will illuminate your path of soul remembering and healing. I'm your host, Ligia Costa, a soul guide, alchemist, soul writing coach, and the creator of the Trust Pathway. I'm deeply grateful to have you here with me. Together, we will embark on a profound exploration of self-discovery and healing, unlocking the secrets that lie within. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Soulcery Podcast. And today we have the amazing Roberto Martocci. And feel very, very grateful that Roberto is coming to speak with us. He is the practical mystic, a sacred relationship ascension and manifestation coach, helping conscious women and awakening men transcend the painful patterns of karmic relationships by guiding them through a sacred journey of deep inner healing that makes them absolutely magnetic to the sacred partner they have always longed for, while also supercharging their ability to manifest their most fulfilling life. And I'm already loving the introduction. Hello, Roberto. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you came to be an ascension coach that works within the patterns of, karmic healing?
Yes. Thank you. That was a lovely introduction. It was like, you know, I call myself the practical mystic. It's like I'm the sacred relationship, ascension and manifestation coach. But actually, I've never heard it reflected back to me
Oh.
and what it is that I do. And I was just like, that sounds I'm not like tooting my own horn. That sounds really good, you know?
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, my mission. Obviously my mission is to work in that way,
Mhm.
especially with karmic healing. And I could say the work that I do comes from me walking the walk and going through this
Mhm.
incredible hero's journey. I chose to come into this incarnation of Roberto to clear a lot of karma and to heal a lot of things. And
Yeah.
when we talk about karmic healing, it's not just this incarnation; it goes beyond that. There's ancestral
Mhm.
karmic healing, and part of what I came here or signed on to do was to clear my family line of certain things. Now, I didn't realize that I was doing that. I was just like, wow, this is really challenging life. This is really a painful experience.
Mm.
If I go back to the beginning, when I was a little kid, when I was 4, 5 years old, I didn't realize this then, but I came into this life knowing who I was
Wow.
and knowing certain things and being able to tune into other people without knowing how to do it or trying. It was just a thing that happened. And I thought that everyone was like that and everybody could do that.
Mm.
And I found out very quickly that that was not the case.
Mhm. Yeah.
I came in with a lot of love that didn't feel like it was coming from me. So I felt like I was always channeling this compassion and this love that was untappable. So I didn't feel like I was giving away my energy, but a lot of people were trying to take my energy.
Mm.
So I guess when you're sitting in, and this will happen people as people awaken and as people get closer and closer to knowing who they are and what their mission, soul's mission is, and living into that, they will begin to be that light that reflects people in whatever situation that they're in. So if people are deep in shadow,
Mm.
which is fine, need a lot of healing,
Yeah.
then that starts to shake up their energetic system and it shakes them up. And some people, that allows them to awaken a little bit more or ponder things, whatever you want to call it, and understand what's going on internally with them. Some people will just brace against it. It's like ego.
Yes,
The ego
absolutely.
part of us doesn't want change. It wants comfort.
Mm.
So a lot of the times it's like a paradox. It keeps you in uncomfortable positions and situations because it's afraid of change, but that change is actually good for the soul. it's
Yes.
it's good for you. So you can kind of get stuck in this
Resistance.
doubt, resistance, thank you, in this resistance. And all of the karmic healing that I've been through and that I shepherd people through is meant to quiet the ego, allow you have these emotions, you have these thoughts, you have these doubts, you have these things, but then you step forward anyway. And I think that's our journey to
Mm,
knowing ourselves and improving ourselves and getting to the soul mission.
yeah.
So that's karmic lessons. Like goal has always been for me, and it's what I wish for other people, is to resolve all of these karmic lessons that we came here to do as a soul to grow, so that we can move more fully into our soul mission. So some people call it, I'm in my karmic phase, you know,
I like
of
that.
learning and, my that's what I call it. It's the karmic phase, and I say that with a heavy heart sometimes because it's super challenging. We go through
Yeah.
really insane things. Actually, sometimes it's daunting and it makes us in some ways want to give up,
Oh, yes.
but then our soul keeps saying, it's like, "No, there's something
Mm,
better. No, you can do this. No, you'll get through this."
yeah.
That's what I've always been the voice in my head saying, "Listen, everything that's going on around you is in your best interest." Even though sometimes doesn't feel like it's in your best interest, it's a stepping stone. It's an obstacle on your path for you to understand. So these like stones in the road, I'll call them, is the karmic lessons that are meant to catapult you into
Mm.
the phase where you can live your soul mission before you move on from this incarnation. And
I,
that way, you don't have to do it again.
yeah, that is the thing. And I find it like so interesting that you talked about stones in the road because my favorite quote of all times is from this Portuguese writer that says, "Stones in the road, I pick all of them, and one day I will build a castle." And I find that so, so beautiful because it's basically what we are doing here as soul beings have a human experience. We go through all of these stones in the road, all these obstacles, and so many times we just stump on them. We don't pay attention to them, or we try and just avoid them when actually we all we need to do is just collect them and one day build a castle, which is our soul mission. And I find so interesting that you mentioned just these words because it's a quote I live by. It's so interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting because I've never said that before.
Really?
And I talk about challenges. Usually it's like you're treading through the mud of life, that kind of stuff. But yeah, they're like, I love that. My new favorite
Oh,
quote saying as well. It's like, yeah, that's what it is. You're taking these stones in the road and creating a foundation with them and
exactly.
building your castle, building your dream. It's like we have to go through these things as much as we don't want to. We chose to do it.
Mm,
Now, the more conscious you are, which is why this karmic healing is so important, it raises your vibration, raises your consciousness
yeah.
to a certain level. So when you do that, you can move into your castle.
Yes. I love that. I love that.
You can start moving into your castle. So it's important. It's like it's a training ground.
Mm,
That's how I look at it, even in a small instance. So as we become more conscious and aware, we start to have more synchronicities. And this is happening more and more and more because of the way the energies are shifting
mm,
in the world or in this reality. The more you shift inside, the more your reality shifts outside. So as you raise your consciousness
and raise your
more and
vibration.
more and raise your vibration more and more, these challenges and these stones in the road become less dangerous. I'll put it like they become smaller
Mm,
in a way.
yeah.
So you can more easily carry them.
Yes.
So the more you don't listen to yourself, the more you bury things, the more you avoid,
Mm,
them, the more difficult your journey
mm.
becomes, and these stones become
Heavier.
heavier. So through this healing work, you can lighten your burden, It's almost, they turn into pebbles or grains of sand that you can carry you can carry your backpack or whatever in
Yeah.
your shoulders. As you collect these stones, you're not weighed down
Mm,
because they're much smaller. So doing this healing work is, I believe, the most important way that you can manifest your dreams. So when I talk about ascension coach, you're opening your energies, you're tuning into yourself, you're tuning into your divine energies through sound healing, guided meditation journeys that can shift your mindset. It gets you beyond conscious thought. It goes beneath the
mm,
subconscious programming, which are the karmic things,
yeah,
right? The
exactly.
programming that we need to understand and resolve or transmute
Mm,
so that we can move further along in our journey. But it opens up our energy system
mm,
so that we can so we can stay in these higher energies.
yeah.
It makes everything easier. It's like those we're always going to have doubts and fears and challenges,
Mm,
and that moves us through our journey. But there's a certain point when you go beyond that subconscious level and you have a mind shift. This is multidimensional. You have to do it, a body shift, because things stay in the body,
yeah.
and the energy level, the emotional level. You have to be able to release emotions
Mhm.
just to have like full expression. I call it
Yeah.
sovereign self-expression, where you have to voice this as well. You have to
Mhm.
voice what's going on inside of you. So that's why, I do it differently, but like counseling and talk therapy or whatever you want to call it. I call it intuitive, compassionate,
Yeah.
um, heart-centered communication. When I work
Mm,
with people and something comes up or something comes into consciousness, I can help walk them through releasing that, walk them through the emotional content and what the experience was. And then you get to express that in a loving, compassionate way with a person that you get the feeling that they understand you.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm here with you. I get that. And you're reflecting back the emotion of what the person's saying when they're talking about an experience. And then that gets them back into the emotion, because that's the energy that has to be released and transmuted
Yes.
so that it's not in a system anymore. You'll have a memory of it, but
Mhm.
you won't have an attachment to it. So
Yes.
the pain and suffering dissolves. And that opens up your channel so that you can tune into your soul more and your intuition, which guides you through your soul's mission and your journey here. And then something will come along and say, hey, wait,
Yeah.
you need to do this because you need this for your mission, but you haven't really focused on this yet. I was into sound healing. I have sound bowls and I do this stuff, and I do, sacred ceremony as well. So I need more opportunities to forward me in this mission
Yeah.
so that I can do this work. And I need the abundance that's going to allow me to do this work. So please send me whatever opportunity that I need right now. And then the next day I get an ad. I call, the algorithm of social media, right? I call it divine guidance sometimes, because
Yeah.
they work through that. They work with people, your spirit allies. They work through any means that's in front of you. If you're in nature, it could be, something you see. It could
Yeah.
be a billboard. It can be just you're in a crowd and you hear like three words that, why did these three words come into my consciousness?
Yes.
Why did I hear that out of all of this noise? And it means something to you. We're
Mm.
always getting messages. We have to keep listening. The algorithm, of divine guidance on social media, an ad popped up for a 6-week EMS, they call it. It's like, I call it a taser gym. It's like you wear a bodysuit and it's a way of biohacking, the
Oh,
physicality, so that you get more muscle contraction during your workouts. You burn more
okay.
calories and it's more effective, and you only have to do it for 20 minutes versus going to a gym or doing something else, some other activity for an hour, so forth. So I was like, yeah, I'll try that. I didn't know it was related to my mission at all. Okay.
Okay.
I was just like, well, that sounds really cool. Let me try this. It's 6 free weeks, 6 weeks to test this out. So I went in, and it turned out the place, I had a healing studio, and the walls were the exact same color blue,
Wow.
like as if we picked the same paint. It was bizarre. The lighting was the same because I use colored light because I do light therapy too. They had all these different colored LED kind of ambient lighting. The actual floors, what they were made of, were exactly the same.
Wow.
materials, exactly the same. I was just, okay. Talk about
Secret,
synchronicity. It's
yeah.
like, okay, I'm listening. What is this all about? So I'm at the gym and I'm doing the program and stuff like that. And the owner asked me, "Oh, what do you do?" And like something. So I told him, he goes, "I want to come to you as a client." So he
Mm,
came to me. It was about like once every 3 weeks for sound healing, energy healing, and we spoke. And he got to get to some of the nitty gritty of what was going on inside him. And because that comes up when you're doing energy healing work. It's
mm,
like that's coming out. It's like I'm tuning into what I call the bioenergetic field, all the layers of it, and that's where all the information for the healing is. So I'm listening. So the whole time it's like I'm listening and the need will come up, guided by the person's energetic system and what's needed. So I worked with him with that as well. And then one day he just texted me and said, "Hey, do you do sounds or sound healing, guided meditation journeys?" And I was just like, "Yes, I do." And he goes, "I want you to do them here because they have a whole wellness section where they do yoga
Ah,
and they wanted a sound healer
that's amazing.
to come in." So I was like, "Yeah, sure." But I was like, I was after the message, I was like, "What did I just get myself into?" Yes, I do these things and I've done them one on one with people, but I hadn't yet held a group and created these like really deep shamanic journeys that I've
Yeah.
walked through myself. So I said, "Well, obviously you have to do this. So get over yourself."
Yeah,
You know, the
literally.
fears, the doubts, and so forth. I just that's how I talk to myself. That's how my guides talk to me too. They're just like, "Really?
That's funny.
Get over yourself. You better do this. We're gonna make your life hard." They don't, but I'm just saying your life will be like I've said, if you're not aligning to your path, you're stopping yourself from moving forward and taking steps, step by step forward, having the courage to do that. You're just gonna be sitting there staring at the stone in the road until
Yep.
you do.
Mhm.
That's stagnation to me. And when that happens, life gets more challenging. You're like, where'd the synchronicities go? Why am I not moving forward? It's you, you know?
The only thing that
And you can,
happens in that is synchronicity. All the events, all of the things seems to happen to us, not for us. Yeah, we have this victim
mostly.
mentality that like, oh, everything is happening at once. I'm just so like over it, like, and it's us. Yes, it's us that kind of attracting all of this.
Yes. So if everything was just fine and peaceful and we have moments of that and that's beautiful because we need that respite. We need that,
Mm,
as well. We need that moment to feel good, feel accomplished.
yeah,
But we have to keep moving forward. So, we can't get stuck in that comfort either. So if there's not like a little bit of discomfort, then we won't move forward because oh, everything's great.
yeah.
Everything's good.
But
I've
every
arrived. And yeah, you can arrive, but then you can't just stay there.
mm,
You can take that arrival with you. You can take that triumph or victory with you as an experience, as a reward almost, so that you can feel how beautiful it feels to be in your mission.
mm.
And then you have to go, okay, now what? So the point of a long story about following the synchronicity was I had to get over myself. I had to get over some of the doubts and fears that came from programming. It
Mm-hmm.
came from my family. It came from society. But it really came from my family and from past life
Mm.
because I was terrified to speak in public.
Wow.
I would sweat. I would hate it. I would do it. I would force myself to do it. I would put myself in situations. I was okay when I got to know people.
Mm.
I was at work and we start to get to know each other and it was kind of easy and you get comfortable and it's easier that way. But when it came to speaking in public or having to present myself to my peers
Mm.
who already judged me, they didn't realize what it was, but being empathic, being different,
Yeah.
having my own personal victories. So sometimes there were jealousy there. Like I did really well in school because I applied myself. Like in life, you have to apply yourself. You have to practice things. You have to do things over and over. There has to be repetition. So you can build the neurons that put that in your memory and in your system. Those are the good things.
Yeah.
What we have to do is clear out the programs that are in our system that these words are just coming reek of judgment, reek of doubt, all the criticisms that people have given to us, whether we can't, whether in our minds we can say, well, no, they're wrong, or and that it gets in.
It gets in.
Emotionally, it gets
Mm,
in and it gets stuck here, so we have to deal with that. So I found through this experiment I was doing with myself of seeing how with some of the things I chant and that I know and these guided journeys can put you in a dreamlike state where you can work this stuff out and you can get more insight
mm,
into things and you can be in those higher energies that make that the fears, the doubts, the things fall away, even if it's just for that moment in that journey. So your body, your soul, like every layer of you feels that and goes, yes, this is what it's supposed to be like. This is who I am. This is being in divine love. That's what it really is. Connecting to that. It
yeah.
dissolves everything. That's why I named my business Ministry of the Diamond Light. The diamond light is the frequency, energy, vibration of divine love.
Wow.
And as a child, going back to that, that's what I realize now is what I was channeling. Let's go back to the karmic healing thing. There's different types of karma. There's ancestral karma. So you're
Hmm.
breaking your karmic line. Then there's the karmic lessons and things that you came here to overcome for yourself as a soul.
Hmm.
And then there's karma that you create yourself
Mm. Yeah. In this lifetime.
in
Yeah.
this world. You can clear all of this stuff that you came here to clear, but if you start creating
More karma.
more karma, karmic experience, the more negative version,
Yeah.
you derail yourself basically
Yeah.
because of other things. Because you're exhausted from you have to take breaks from healing work too
Yes.
because
Yes.
you have to process. So you can get exhausted from all the input that you're getting from the world, from whatever. That's why it's good to go away, go in nature, go in the bathroom, and hide. Like and
Yeah.
just breathe. Go in the tub, go in a closet, go light a candle. Don't burn your house down, but light a candle and care for yourself.
Mm.
Care for
Yeah.
yourself. Here's one one healing tip. Care for yourself the way you would want everybody else to care about you. Just
Yeah. It's
go
just
away from people so that you can be in your own energy,
mm,
so that you're not getting all of this
conflicting. Yeah.
chaotic input, and it can put you in a more peaceful state. And then that calms your nervous system. That's why the sound healing and things like it does a lot of things. It harmonizes a lot of things,
Hmm.
but I always say, bare minimum, it puts you in a different state of mind,
Yes. It's true. Yeah.
and that opens you up. In relation to karmic healing, there's like a downfall of consciousness
Right.
that happens, a fall in consciousness that happens. So when I was put through a past life regression with one of my mentors, Christos Perry, I was taken back to my first incarnation on
Mm.
Earth.
Wow.
So I was a temple priest. They didn't call us that. We were called emanators.
Okay.
And what we did was we channeled this, what I'm calling now diamond light, this divine love energy of the universe from source. We lived in the temple, high up in the temple, and there were several of them. And we channeled this love to the civilization. And that helped it flourish. That helped keep it in the higher energies and helped people. It's like you're called to do it. You're sought out as a child. The
Mm.
previous emanators are tasked with that. They intuitively know who it is. And as a child, and it's an honor for the family, so it's not like a terrible thing. You're chosen and you go to the temple and you live in the temple
Mm.
and you train under this person until that person ascends and then you take over that
That.
position for
Mm.
society. So this channeling of divine love. So when I was sitting there on the sidewalk playing with friends at age 5, I was sitting there knowing this. That's why I meant I knew who I was, even though my level of I was only
Maturity.
5, you
Bless you.
know. But the things I was thinking, nobody else was thinking as a child. So I was like, why are these adults treating me like a child? And I was like, oh, okay, I'm 5. They don't know what's going on in here. So I just kept it to myself. But then when you get to age 7, it's just like a whole thing. It's like your chakras develop. Up to age 1, your first chakra develops. Then, so by the time in the second, and then the third for age 3, by the time when you're 7 years old, your energetic system is still new, but it's fully formed.
Hmm.
So around then, because we have societal influences and criticisms and things and people that are not nice to us and
All the
and
conditioning.
all
Yes.
the conditioning that we start to lose. It's like it's almost like our own mini fall in consciousness. We start
Mm.
to have to focus on survival and we have to start to focus on doing all of these things that society is telling us that we need to do to succeed, to move forward, to
Yeah.
be liked.
We
So if you're
create
different, you're
identities.
kind of
Yeah.
screwed.
Mm. Yeah.
You know, and I'm just joking, but it's like that's what we came here for, to shake
Yeah.
that up and to raise the conscious. Light workers, healers,
Mm.
people like you, like people like our colleagues and friends that do all kinds of work like this. You don't have to be a healer. Like everyone's a healer. You don't have to be that as a job,
Yeah.
but you can still be a light worker. You bring light to people
Absolutely.
by being a support, listening,
Mm-hmm.
just helping someone else feel joy when they're in a moment.
Yes.
This doesn't have to be our job in order to do that. You can bring it to any occupation,
Absolutely.
any place, any family member, any friend, any person on the street
Mm-hmm.
that you notice needs a
Yeah.
little support. Going back to this past life thing, well, all the ones that I know about the past lives after that, I was always standing up for this light, this
Mm.
love. There's a better way to do something. If I was in war, I would try to create a ceasefire and say, hey, wait, it's like we're all human beings. We're all fathers, we're all mothers, we're all brothers, sisters. We're all the same. So why are we doing this? And then I would get imprisoned for that,
Mm.
and shut up. Then I became a monk at some point. All these different past lives, I was persecuted
Mm.
for being the light in the room in some way. No wonder I was terrified of having a voice. Even my parents, it was like that karmic lesson came back. I chose my parents to deal with that too.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I was thinking. And
Same.
I was just like, really, Roberto? I know you can handle it, but like, come on. Where's the life of where you just get to be like, yeah, you know, it's coming. It's my job, it's our job to get ourselves there in every life that we have. So I had to overcome that. My parent, it was like I wasn't allowed to have a voice. It was like everywhere I went. No wonder I didn't want to speak up. From past lives, some things. So we're talking about karmic stuff. That was a huge karmic thing for me. So
Yeah.
throughout this incarnation in this life, I didn't have healers to go to. I didn't have mentors. I had nobody. So I
Yeah.
had to do this myself.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, why did I choose that? Okay. When you were talking about victim mode before, you can get out of it's just a simple shift in perspective.
Mm.
It's like, I chose every experience that I'm supposed to have, and how I show up for it is going to determine how easy, how hard, how terrible, or how I'm going to feel when I overcome it. Sometimes we put these really harsh challenges in front of us.
Yeah.
So I had super narcissistic mother, stepmother. My friends called her step monster, the ice queen.
Really?
I didn't call her that. They did. So, and my brother was too. So I put all these people in my way that throughout all these past lives were suppressing me, trying to suppress me, trying to suppress me. And there were times when I felt really, really alone.
Mm.
I would say lonely, like deeply lonely. And when is my time? When is this going to end? Like, why? Why is all that? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Definitely a victim. I was being victimized, but like you can be victimized and not be a victim,
Yeah.
not
True.
allow yourself to be a victim. So I said to myself, which got me through all of it. There were so many things. Was two things. This won't be forever, and they will never break me. There was something defiant in me saying, no matter what you do, what you throw at me, I am waiting for my opportunity to be out of here, and you're not going to break me. I would find ways, and I receded inward. And it's good. I'm a Pisces. I have like this vivid imagination. I just created my own world and my own reality. And what that forced me to do was to break that karmic cycle in my family.
Mm.
Okay. Because when I had my children, it was a whole other experience for them. And that was a healing experience for me as well, being a
Yeah.
parent to them that I never had.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I got to experience in that joyous energy with them, guiding them to their fullest potential, not trying to make them do anything, just guiding them.
Mm.
There should be a whole course in
Oh,
becoming a
yes.
parent before you should have to have a degree, to become a parent. But somehow, anatomically, it's just so easy to just, have children, pop them out.
That's the easiest part. The hard part is helping these
Conscious parenting.
little human beings, don't carry our baggage. And parenting can be so activating for us, especially us that went through very challenging childhoods. Even though we are doing all this healing work, until you become a parent and you go through certain things, and even in the experience of them growing, you are faced with these projections. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. My inner child is crying now. And I can't project this onto them because it's not really their fault.
Yes, it's very activating for us in a good way too.
Mm,
Something else you said is like we are shepherds as parents, and we have a huge responsibility. At least I took it that way, to make sure that they
mm,
got to be who they were without judgment, without any of those stuff. So I refused to bring. I brought the best of me.
mm,
I didn't want to inflict my pains and my karmic lessons upon them. So when we
mm,
go back to karma and parents and children, I had a very challenging childhood, young adulthood, and so forth. And later on, as I'm in this awakening healing journey for myself, we work with shaman, and he said to me, Roberto, this is not your personal karma. This
mm,
isn't. I was in a cycle of being in narcissistic relationships.
mm.
They would always start out fabulous, the smoke screen, the
Yeah.
love bombing kind of thing. A lot of us that have been through that are aware of. And if you haven't been through that, awesome. Thank God that's not your karmic lesson. But they're all out there and they'll try. So you always got to keep your eyes open and peeled. But anyway, he said that I came here and it so resonated with me to break that karma for him because he could not. So he passed that karma on to me. So as a parent, you can pass your karmic lessons that you're not resolving,
Mm,
transmuting, healing to your children. And in a way you pass it on to everybody else. So for those of us that have compassionate hearts and kind hearts and are empathic and or want to be all of that, it's important for us to do our own healing so we don't pass on that energy and
mm.
criticisms and doubt and our programming to other people as well.
Yeah.
Because I know I don't want to do that. And I didn't want to do it with my kids. So I finally, after many, many, many years of being in these kinds of karmic relationships and doing all of this healing work, and I always got out of them. Love is not supposed to hurt. You can have a miscommunication with the partner, loved one, but it shouldn't be this intensely painful experience because we have
Mm.
attachments to what we didn't receive as a child.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
inner child healing is very important for karmic healing. So it's very complicated,
Oh,
but it's
yes.
very simple. It's very simple at the same time. Because I just wanted to bring up there's different types
Of
of
karma.
karma. And one of them that I didn't know about was my father passing this karma on to me because he didn't resolve the issues. And I broke that.
Mm.
And I remember when I left my 22-year marriage, while I was trying to extricate myself from that, I just got an insight that is like, it opened my heart. I was like, I'm not just doing this for me. I'm doing this so that my children don't have to do this themselves.
Yeah.
I'm going to be an example and show them. And I stayed in that relationship for a very long time because I knew what was up. I was awakened, I was doing. Here's the crazy thing. In some ways, I felt like an imposter, even though I didn't. Because I was doing all of this healing work with other people and their relationships and navigating out of narcissistic relationships and what caused that to happen, the karmas that, and the inner healing and all that stuff that needed to happen.
Yeah.
And people would have these beautiful, transformations and experiences. But here I chose to sit in this relationship because I knew that I had to be the buffer
Mm.
for my
Yeah.
children so that they had a peaceful experience growing up. They had a nurturing, I was the primary caregiver, the nurturing growing up and all of that. So they got to see the dysfunction
Mm.
in my ex-spouse and they got to see me accepting that dysfunction on their behalf,
Yeah.
which isn't necessarily a healthy. They got to see what all of that was about and then they got to see me remove myself from it
Yeah.
once they were of age. But looking back, it was a way of breaking the karma of my family line that came to that. So There's a lot of
And
healing that
so
needs to go on.
so interesting because as you say, like we choose our lives in here, right? We make soul contracts and we chose our parents. And so our children chose us as parents. And your children chose you who had this passed on karmic healing to do, and your ex spouse that was I think I understood he was a narcissist.
Yes,
So your children chose you both from polar opposites, but in a way with the same karma to heal, so that they could experience something different, and that's beautiful.
but here's the thing, I didn't leave that angry. I
Yeah,
didn't leave I did a lot of inner work. I do a lot of work quieting the ego, part of myself. Acknowledging it and
yeah,
going, "Wait, my higher self is like, no, I got this." Our ego rages because, we're not taking care of ourselves. It's one of the factors of it is it's like, "Hey, listen, you're not listening to yourself. You're burying things. You're burying those stones. I'm going to make you deal with it. And if you don't help us, I'm going to have a temper tantrum."
yep.
So that's what being triggered is. So I find value, not that I like to be triggered, and it doesn't happen very often because I see things as an observer now. I've done a lot
Mm.
of healing work too, but people can be triggering, and that's also in our best interest.
Oh
That
yeah,
makes our ego go, "You need to pay attention to something because there's something inside of you that needs attention, a
yeah,
wound,
yep.
something, yes, there are terrible people do terrible things. We're all capable of doing terrible things. I choose not to. So there are valid things that are triggering, but we still have to examine them
Mm.
and go, "Okay, why does that irk me so much? What is it in my past, in my programming, in me? Maybe there's someone's aggressive towards you. Maybe there's this aggressive side of me that I'm suppressing. And
Mm.
what is this aggression about?"
Yeah.
Anger, I believe, is a symptom of being wounded, of being hurt in
Oh
some way.
yes. Yeah.
So that's when the ego lashes out. We put up an angry boundary versus, okay, you can have that opinion and
Yeah.
that's not me and you're being very aggressive. So I'm leaving. Bye. That's another way to handle it without being attached to the fight.
Mm.
'Cause you can't fight with anger. You can
No.
only understand and try to dissolve it. So, actually, that, like, brings me this compassionate, heart-centered communication that I was talking about has helped me dissolve other people's anger. Someone I met at a tattoo convention because I have tattoos, and the artist wanted me to represent him there. I was walking around at booths and stuff, and person came up to me and was like, "Oh, your tattoos and this and that," and, like, "What's that about?" And we started talking, and then we just started walking around and looking at, all the different booths and things like that. We were talking and we became, like, very friendly, and it was just nice. It was a nice experience. And then 2 gay men walked by, and they were a little bit flamboyant, and he made a comment, just put it that way.
Mm.
'Cause I won't say the comment because I don't like to propagate the energy of that comment. So, me being gay,
Mm.
I could've that coulda triggered me and I coulda let him
Mm.
have it,
Mm.
right? But I thought to myself, "I wanna understand this." I got curious.
Mm.
So I asked, I was like, "Hey, what made you say that? Why do you feel that way?" And he was saying he had never been around anybody like that.
Mm.
Right? And I said, "Well, if you've never experienced how do you know these people are bad people? Like, how do you know gay people, LGBTQ, I was like whatever it is now in the gamut of things, come in all forms, shapes, and sizes." And I said,
Yeah.
"You and I know this because I know people, and you wouldn't even know if the person you're talking to is gay or not. They look like bikers. You wouldn't think
Yeah.
construction people, every walk of life."
Mhm.
And he wasn't getting it. He was listening
But not
because I
least
listened. I listened and reflected back what he was saying as his experience and not having that experience. So I didn't judge him. I was just like, this is alien to him. So that was his first reaction
right.
based on his programming. So we're still walking and talking and stuff like that. And then literally 5 minutes later, he stops me and he goes, "You're gay, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I am so sorry." And he thanked me. He was like, "Thank you so much for opening my eyes." He's just like, you're just a regular person that I really like." And it's like, "You showed me something today." And then we just hung out and, like, I never saw him again after the after that. That's
But
what I
you
mean, it's
made an impact on that day, even though you haven't seen him
yes.
after that, but you made an impact.
Yeah, and it had an impact on me
Mm,
because my whole life I've been judged and criticized and bullied and, I use my wits a lot, but I won't be bullied. So, but that happened a lot.
mm,
So that could have been such an intense trigger for me.
yeah,
And I was just like, I decided not to be a bitch
yeah,
because I could have been, and I justifiably could have let him have it, like I said, but I chose a different way. And that's that loving, compassionate
mm,
kind of thing that I learned to harness. Whereas when I was younger as a kid, I was just bullied for being kind.
yeah,
Like I was like, what alien world am I living in
yeah.
where being kind is a bad thing? That was my experience.
Because you are a boy and you were suppose again conditioning, cultural expectation, societal expectation to be a boy, to be rough, to be, and not be kind because that's seen as
As weak, that's not masculine.
yeah.
And that's why when I say, you said in the very beginning, I work with men and women,
Mm,
conscious women and awakening men.
yeah.
Okay. This karmic healing, a huge component to it hinges on your balance of divine masculine and feminine. Because if you suppress either one of them, you're out of balance. You're not in tune with who you are completely. You're not whole. Okay, you can be super masculine, and then it could turn into toxic masculinity
Yep.
where it's really you're hurting yourself, but it's like because you were not allowed to tap into your inner side. You're supposed to bury things, emotions. You're supposed to just be a protector and this and an earner
Yep.
and whatever it is that your programming was as
Mm,
a man, what masculinity is. You focus intently on that because you don't want to be considered feminine in any way
yep.
when it's not about gender. It's like
No.
energies. We need that balance. We need to have an intuition. We need to express our emotions. So men that are awakening to this, a population that is less focused on, I believe, at least in my experience, men are hurting because
Mm,
they can't be themselves. They can't be these loving, compassionate, vulnerable,
yeah.
emotional beings that they are. It doesn't take by tapping into your feminine quality energies doesn't take away from your masculinity. And it's the same thing with women. It's like
Mm,
for women, I feel want to help women because that masculinity has suppressed women. I'm being nice about it.
mm,
Suppressed women for centuries, destroyed them, killed them,
yeah.
raped every aspect of their lives. So this is like that's a huge karmic thing, and I believe we're coming out of it. The divine feminine is coming in, and I think that's why a lot more men are awakening
Mm, yeah.
and feeling unfulfilled in the hyper masculine lifestyle that they live in
Mm,
because they're missing something. They're
yeah.
feeling that missing of something. You can be the most successful, the most this man or woman, but like I'm talking about men right now, most successful in every aspect of your life, but you still feel unfulfilled. And
Yeah.
why is that? Because you're not allowed to accept love the way we're supposed to accept love. And seeing women as a threat to your masculinity when they are in their full masculine energies, a lot of women are kind of forced into that trap of I'm now in a male world, male dominated world, business, whatever it is, and I have to be more masculine to meet them there. So they suppress their own femininity and then they have total success every way in life
Yeah.
aligned to that part of their purpose and something's missing because they're not allowing themselves and because they have been programmed and not allowed to be fully in their feminine aspect. And when, we're talking about heterosexual couples, it's like when a man can heal that part of themselves that allow themselves to dissolve that programming and be a more balanced human being energetically, that allows the females in their lives, it could be friends, the
Yeah.
females in their lives to be in their full femininity.
Yeah.
So no one's suppressing anything. And that's when societal karma, I don't know what to call it, but it's like that breaks the karma. That
Mm,
breaks the codependency. That breaks the thing that's lacking. If you're always trying to replace the father that you never had or the mother that you nurturing that you never had, that's going to bring people that are going to fulfill that need, because what you really need to do is fulfill it in yourself and balance your energies so that you can enjoy
mm.
that other person, or if you didn't have the father, that male energy, rather than be attached and needing it.
Yeah.
So karmic relationships look like it's need based.
Mm,
There's codependency in it. It can be quite painful,
yeah.
and we are in I think we are in control of the pain that we feel. We're in control of, based on our perspective and the work that we do within ourselves. It's like we can choose to allow that to hurt us. I'm not talking about people that do atrocious things, that are they
Yeah.
physically try to harm us, they're psychological, they're screaming at us, like whatever it is. You still have a choice to walk away.
Mm,
You still have a choice to accept that or not accept that, to put that boundary up. So self-expression is really important in
it
this
is.
component for balancing these energies. That's why we're here, to take all of these higher energies, this glory, whatever our connection to source, connect to it, and it's going to feed us. The earth, it feeds us, it energizes us, and we bring that paradise here
Mm,
in our own lives. And that's what fulfillment is. That's when we, dare I say, arrive. Arrive for the moment. Arrive at a moment where we are aligned, we're in mission, and now we're in fulfillment because we're doing what we came here to do. We cleared all of this stuff and now we're free. People call it going from your karma stage to your dharma
mm,
stage
yeah.
in life. I believe you can do this at any age because it only matters about maturity and
Mm,
experience. Usually happens a little bit later in life, but it doesn't have to be that. Like I
yeah.
know my children are much closer to that because of how I guided them.
Mm.
So they're in a stage of life that they're doing what they need to do. They're going to get there. They better get there quicker than I did.
That's what we hope for, isn't it?
Yes. But they do. They're sovereign in themselves. They do what motivates them. They don't do what doesn't motivate them. And that's how that, we should do that for ourselves too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm loving the way this conversation is going because talking about karmic relationships, I've known that I have this very unbalanced relationship with my mother. Same as you, in a way, I had a very troubled childhood. I was abused as a child. My mom's side, like my mom, my dad's no, but my mom used to emotionally and physically abuse me. It might be the culture. I think possibly Italians and Portuguese are very strict in that sense. At least back when I was a child or back when you were a child. I think now things are a bit more relaxed.
Well, they were programmed that way too. And then they're
Exactly.
passing on that
Mm,
aggression.
absolutely, absolutely. And I had a conversation with my mom last year where she asked me, "Oh, I see your Facebook post, and I know that it can be triggering." And to me, as someone that so publicly talks about this side of my story, and again, I'm telling my story. I'm not going very picture about what she did to me or whatever. That's
Mhm.
not the intention here. But obviously, I can imagine for her, it's hurtful to read some of the things that I write. And she's like, "It seems like you have something against me." I was like, "No, it has nothing to do with it. I'm just telling my story. And I'm just telling you that the way you brought me up, it wasn't healthy. And at the time, maybe there wasn't a name for it, but now we know it's childhood abuse." And then she was like, "I don't get it because that's the way my parents did to me. And I just thought I was doing the right thing." To her, she didn't do it maliciously. To her perspective, to her truth, you know, this is different, the
Yeah.
perspective and the truth, it's her truth as well as it's my truth, and they are both valid. But it's like you were saying, it's just passed on, passed on. It's just cultural, societal conditioning, programming that goes through generations and generations. And there is always a family member where it says, "It stops with me, end of." And I'm the one that is breaking the cycle. So my children don't have to go through it. And yeah, I'm loving the way this conversation is going about karmic relationships because I've known that I had this very unbalanced relationship with my mother, but I've done a couple of sessions with one of our common friend, Katarina, where she did two past life sessions I had with her, where my mom came up. One time she was also my mother and she was very strict, but she lived her life through me, as in, like, you're going to do things that I didn't have a chance to do. And the father wasn't present apparently, and I sacrificed my marriage, and I didn't live with my husband at the time because I felt guilty about leaving my mom behind. She was like very manipulative in that life, I mean, very manipulative and guilt tripping. And in another life, she was my boss. She was a man, I was a boy. And she was my boss, and she was very critic and very judgmental and very harsh. So it's very interesting how we not only choose the karmic healing we want to do, but we also choose the karmic relationships we come in our present lives, kind of to give it another go. Let's give it another chance and just heal this, isn't it? Do you agree with
Yes,
that?
I do. Yes. It's beautiful what you said, really. And yeah, it's like you think of it this way. What came up for me is like you chose to keep having that relationship with your mother
Hmm,
until you can resolve it in some way.
yeah.
Because we can look at all these terrible things and these terrible experiences, and that's what I mean. This isn't a
Hmm,
blaming thing. Like,
yes,
it's all
exactly.
my fault that I'm doing this to myself. No, it's more like I choose this because my soul needs this healing.
Hmm.
So I didn't do it in this one. I didn't leave that job with a critical mother as a man, and you were the boy at the job, you know, and it wasn't resolved
No.
in those lives is what I'm hearing you
Mm,
saying. Now's your chance, right? And I think it's really beautiful what you did with your mother. You had this conversation.
mm.
You expressed that. You even, it came up in a different way. It's like you expressed it live and she saw it. And then it triggered this in her.
Oh, yeah.
And what you said, she had a moment. I think she had even though she didn't want to see it,
Mm. No,
right?
she didn't. She couldn't fathom why. Why was so wrong. And I didn't mean
Right.
to do any damage to you. That's just the way I was brought up, and I'm okay. That's what she said to me. Like she came up okay, even though she went through the same things. So maybe I'm the one that is too sensitive. So yeah.
Well, this is where I ask, you know, how did that make you feel to have her, I guess, think that that was she acknowledged it in some way. Oh, I didn't know that I was
Mm.
causing that harm, but that's just how it's done.
Yeah,
Like,
she
how did
didn't
that
she didn't apologize at all. She didn't. But again, she's a very proud person. She rarely apologizes for anything. But yeah, I don't know. It was a bit conflicting. It was like it was good to have that conversation. It was probably the first time that I opened up about how the childhood felt to me, and I could acknowledge how hard it must have been for her to hear that, because if it was the other way around, like my child telling me, I would probably take it like, I think, even though she was not accepting, she took it very well.
it may not have been the full result that you may have been wanting, but there was a little progress there.
There is. Yeah.
And you may never get that. You may never
Mm,
get more than that.
yeah.
So that's the other thing that happens. It's
Mm,
like when we don't get that resolution or the apology or whatever it is from the other person, you still have to release that
yeah,
from your
absolutely.
system. So how do we do that? That's what I've worked on so many ways in my own experiences and of not having that resolution, not having that person that hurt you. Forgiveness is an interesting
Mm,
thing to me. I don't believe you're actually forgiving that person.
mm,
I think you may let them off the hook, but you're not really forgiving them. I think you're forgiving yourself for allowing that person to harm you or be in that programming. And I don't mean like people victimize other people. So
yeah.
it's not like you're allowing them to harm you. But what I'm saying is
We didn't know better.
forgive yourself for choosing that
Mm,
as your karmic lesson. Forgive yourself mistakes. It's like, because we may feel like, oh, I stayed like me. I stayed in that way too long.
mm,
It affected my health. The day I moved away, my health issues disappeared. So I knew what I was doing to myself. I had to forgive myself for doing that to myself. But I also knew that I had a really, damn good reason.
Yeah.
That was my choice. That's why I didn't walk away angry. It was my choice to stay in that dysfunctional relationship. There was a purpose to it.
Mm.
And I took the hit. I don't regret it. I took the hit for my kids. Not that he's the most horrible person, whatever. Like, I psychologically needed to make sure that they were not affected by that narcissistic pattern that was in his family. And
Mm.
I hope he never listens to this. But if he needs to, it's the truth. It's my
Well,
truth.
if
It's my
and it's valid,
perspective.
and it's valid. The same way my truth sounds different from my mother's truth, but one doesn't invalidate the other. It's just the experiences were like that.
Yeah, you can still heal
Mm.
without the other person.
And I'm grateful I had that conversation with her before it was too late. Because sometimes we don't have that chance. Sometimes relationships are so damaged that one passes away and then you're just left with this void inside with questions that never got answered. And I didn't got all my questions answered, that's for sure. But as you said, it was progress. And it might happen, but it might not happen. And I'm grateful for the little progress that we made.
Just came to me when you said something about before it's too late. I'm assuming you're meaning before she passes on.
Mm.
You didn't get to express, yourselves and try to resolve things. So that's why that's important because that allows that. It's like when a person passes on, they have, is my belief, they have their life review
Yeah.
because they're going to create their next incarnation at some point. So you review all the things you did, all the, we'll call them mistakes, all the whatever it is, all the challenges, things you overcome, things you didn't resolve, things you didn't, stuff like that. And as a spirit, you're not tied to the incarnate world and all the things and stuff. You're in a different level of consciousness that you become more fully your higher self again. And you can see those things, I guess, objectively.
Mm.
So when an apology or a recognition comes from spirit to a daughter, a loved one, or whoever it was, and there's remorse and apology there and reasonings why, that can be deeply healing in a karmic way as well.
Mm.
So it's not necessarily just limited to that. A story of mine is like my mother was addicted to drugs and she suffered from depression and no one understood her. And when I was 5 and 6 years old, my parents got divorced and I separated at 4, divorced at 5. My father, he had to leave. He was a kind man and she was abusing him.
Mm.
She had some
Addictions.
yeah, she had addictions, and her father abused her, and this is where that pain just ate her
Mm.
alive. And she was sensitive, she was like me, she was psychic, she had all of this stuff, but her mental capacity based on like what the traumas that she had, she couldn't handle it. So she softened that with drugs
Mm.
and men and other ways
Numb.
to not feel the hurt
Yeah.
or
To
to feel good or searching for a father that that was never there, and they always tended to be a bit abusive at some point. She was reliving that. It was sad to watch, and I was just a little kid. There was nothing I could really do about it. So I saw that, but I wasn't mad at her either because I saw it. She is hurting and nobody knows how to help her. There was no therapy back then. It was either you dealt with it yourself in some other way, you grinned and bared it, or they put you in a loony bin. Those were pretty much the options. And I felt bad for her. I can't help her. Why don't people see this? And
Mm.
no one would listen to me anyway. So I kind of lived with that. So then my father got custody and I lived with my grandparents, and it was such a much better situation. Visiting her, and then she tried to, it's like a long movie. She tried to kidnap me. I'm just going through the highlights. And that failed. And then she disappeared after
Mm.
that. So what I didn't know was she had another child. 3 years later, she came back, found me, and took us to court because she wanted visitation rights and she wanted to make contact again. But at this point, I had to choose. I had to choose me.
Mm.
It was either me or her. And I was creating a life for myself. She came back when I was 15. I was in high school. That even though I was living with a narcissistic stepmother and my dad that allowed all that to happen, I had to push her away. And I didn't see her after that. Then she passed at some
Oh.
point. But it turns out she had another child, and who was a girl. And my sister found me and gave me a message from my mother when she knew she was going to pass. She was like, find your brother, find him, he'll accept you. It was like she knew me, but I never knew she knew me. And then my sister shows up, and it really was her. And I knew her father because her father was the one that tried to kidnap me
With your mom.
with my mom. And the whole time I wasn't scared. I was just like, she's so dumb. We're going to end up wherever we end up, and I'm just going to call my dad and tell him where we are. But it didn't get to that because my dad knew something was up. And my grandfather, it was like from a movie. He had a gun, and he was at
Oh
work, and
my
he came
god.
running up the street, and he stopped the car and told the guy had a crowbar, and he was gonna. My dad had one leg in the car because he was and the door chasing after the car, and he was gonna hit my father with the crowbar. And my grandfather stopped it at
Oh
like one
wow.
point, and then we got out of the car, and I wasn't scared at all. Like everyone was looking at me, he was like, "Are you okay?" I'm just like, "That was
Yeah.
fun." I was,
You were in an action movie.
I'm like, go, grandpa. Like, I mean, I knew I wasn't in danger. She wasn't trying to hurt me. So
Yeah.
see all the challenges I grew up with. But
Oh.
I chose to see the value in it.
Mm.
I don't know how, maybe the past lives, the knowing, whatever it was, I always knew it wasn't about me because things were really, 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 really bad. And like I was saying, I was really lonely. I didn't want to off myself ever. That wasn't like something that I wanted to do, but I felt the despair,
Mm.
that deep despair and loneliness. It felt like the air around me was stagnant. It felt like I imagined that's what death would feel like. You're on the brink of death because there's nothing. There's no love. And that triggered me to be like, but I love myself. This is not about me. What is this? Something in me knew that whatever these experiences were was not, there was programming that came from that, but I wasn't attached to it somehow.
Mm.
So I don't know, where I'm going from that or why I had to share that story. But even though I never was suicidal,
Mm.
I can really see and feel the despair that people go through. And I gave myself hope, but I wanted to give other people hope. But that hope comes from within yourself because you can encourage people and support people all you want, but if they don't feel it in themselves, sometimes the pain is so deep.
Mm. It is, yeah.
Yeah. And also, it's like I hear from mentors and masters that if you do choose to break your contract in that way, your next incarnation is going to be that contract.
Yeah, I've heard of things as well.
I don't advocate for it. I don't judge anybody either.
Of course.
But somehow you have to find the light. You have to find the light in every little experience.
As you were saying, like about being suicidal, I think it's a cry for help, it's a cry for attention. Not so much attention like, look, I'm here. It's more like, I'm stuck. I have this void inside of me and I don't know what to do about it. And most times, these people just don't show they are suffering that way.
And they don't have anybody. And
Mm.
even if they do, they can have a loving family and can still feel that way. It's a chemical thing that happens. I think the traumas and pain create that chemical
Mm.
thing or lack of those chemicals. It's rough. I have so much respect and honor for people that work with people that are in that state because it's rough.
Mm.
And I can't speak from experience, of knowing how really rough it is, but the part that I tapped into is like, if that's just the tip of the iceberg, I have so much love and compassion for anybody that's going through that.
And when we are in the muck, sometimes it's so hard to see the light, right? It's so hard to see a different reality. And maybe now you are in a position, you'll look back and like, when I was in there, I couldn't imagine this is where I will be. And it feels just amazing. And I'm so grateful that I carried on doing this work and I got to see what it was in store for me.
Doing these little things that we're talking about, I'll just go for a walk around the building because there's all trees and stuff around me, and it shifts your energy.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
takes you out of that, and it gives you a moment. This feels good. Wow. So let me devote myself to a practice of doing things that are in my best interest and that make me feel good.
Yeah.
Like, no, but not everybody has a beach to go to, but like nearby. But there's other ways of being in nature. And it's like all these little things you do for yourself, it gives you peace from all the other stuff, all the challenges, even if it's for a moment. And then it builds and builds and builds. And then it motivates you to do that more.
Yeah.
And the more you do that, the more you open yourself up. You have to do physical activity as well that clears energy.
Mm.
That's important too, because we always talk about, energy and healing and all these other higher stuffs and meditation and all of these things, which are very beneficial, but we have to take care of the physical as well. You have to treat yourself. You are sacred. So every act
Mm.
that you do, every purposeful thought, every motivation, we have to endeavor to do it from a sacred place. Like when you cook food, you
Yeah.
can energize your food with intention. I give this nourishing energy in this food. This food will, whatever it is, and you take care when you might not be want to cook or like whatever, but if you do cook, religious thing, it's like when you bless, you say a blessing before you eat. It's just an act of
Mm.
gratitude
Yeah.
that puts that gratitude into the food, and then you eat it. You can charge a cup of water. You can even put on a piece of paper, a circular piece of paper, or whatever, a little square piece of paper, an intention. This is going to hydrate and nourish me and bring me peace, whatever it is you want. And you put it under the cup and you say that several times. It's good to say it out loud because the vibration of your voice with that intention is going to charge the molecules, manipulate, reorganize the molecules, harmonize the molecules for that intention. Then you drink that nourishment, you drink that
Mm.
emotion that you put into that. So it's intentional acts are sacred acts. It's like treat yourself sacred. If you devote yourself to anything and you take, even if it's imperfect action, with doubts and stuff, you just start taking action, things are going to open up for you. Opportunities are going to come. Happen may not the way as fast as you want or the way you want,
Yeah.
but it will come because we can think about it, we can clear our energies, we can do all this stuff, we can dream about it, we can feel it, we can believe it, we can attract it, but we also have to manifest it.
So, to finish this amazing conversation, what is like a quick, per se, tip or advice that you can give for someone that would like to start karmic healing?
To start karmic healing, okay, so there's a lot there, but like you're saying, simple to start it is, I'm just going to say it because that's what guidance is saying, and I'll have to explain it, but inner child healing,
Mm.
those first moments of need and unfulfilled need is really, I guess, if you had to go someplace to start with inner work, I would say that, because there's needs that are there and there's beautiful ways to do it. You can do it through guided journeys. I have one that I have done with people in a group. I'm going to be recording all of these journeys and offering them as well. But
Oh,
for
thank
someone
you.
that doesn't have, they're not going to have them yet, or you don't have to do it through me. Guides you to meet your inner child, so you get to see what they were, and then you as your future self gets to fulfill that need, to
Mm.
give that advice, to give that support, to give that encouragement. It could just be a hug of love. It's going to be okay. You will get through this. We will be okay, because
Mm.
I'm proof that we are. And then the beautiful thing that happens, because you heal your timeline that
Mm.
way. So you might have to visit your inner child several times depending on the different things and the needs that come up. But usually when you do a journey like that, what you need in that moment comes up. You help heal that part, and then you feel that
Mm.
yourself. It moves through your timeline to who you are now, and it heals in some way that aspect of you, and you get this energy back. And then it starts to process. You might have to do other work, but it processes that need is no longer there
Mm.
or is less there. That's how you're going beyond the programming. So getting in the state of mind, I would say these guided journey meditations, crystal sound bowls, it harmonizes everything. It puts you in the brain state. You don't have to even think about it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to chant anything. You don't have to think of even the journey so much. It puts you in that state of mind that opens you to a higher experience so that you can go there.
Mm.
It's your subconscious, if you want to call it your subconscious mind,
Yeah.
but it's really, you want to reach your higher mind, which is attached to your heart. It's like your heart. I believe your heart is your higher mind. So it discerns everything, all of the energies from here, all of the energies from below, all the different dimensions. It converges there. And then that becomes the beacon to what you attract to yourself. It's what needs to be touched for the healing. It's like
Mm.
a fulfillment that goes to the heart. So doing the inner child work would be like an important first step.
First step. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if you're not able to do that yourself, just find a reputable person to do it. But go on YouTube too. Give me a shout. The reason I offer 30-minute free, I call them discovery calls, the big part of that is to get people thinking and starting in the process.
Mm.
Okay, this healing process, it's a coaching process, multifaceted, but it's a way for you to take the first step,
Mm.
and it's free. That's
Yeah,
why I do that. Of course, if somebody's interested in working with me, because whatever we do in this session is whatever, that's just a plus for
yeah.
me so that I can, continue to do my work. But the real purpose of it is to get somebody thinking about their goals, thinking about what it is that most present challenge in their life and what they can do to overcome it. And if I can help them do that or accelerate that, then wonderful. So you get to learn about all the different ways. That could be it. And you can walk away from that call and you're going to be in a better place, or at least having some insight as to what your next step in your healing process and whatever you want to manifest, whatever it is in your journey.
I'm so grateful, for our conversation. Amazing conversation, full of light bulbs. I just let you talk and talk and talk because, I could
I
see the
know.
flow. No, I could see the flow coming and coming. Like, you don't
That's why I
interrupt
don't look
those
at the
things.
camera all the time, because it's coming.
Yeah, we don't interrupt these things when the flow is coming. We
Yes.
just let it flow. Thank you so much, so much, Roberto, for being here on the podcast. Thank you so much for all your wisdom. I'm sure it disrupted a lot of thoughts and beliefs that we were conditioned and programmed to believe. And sometimes we need to hear these things, to kind of give us another perspective. So thank you ever so much for coming to the podcast, and see you very soon.
Yes, thank you for having me, letting me yammer on about these important things. And hopefully it will help people at least recognize these things. That's it.
Exactly.
Once it's in your consciousness, you can do something about it.
Absolutely. And that's what we are here for, is to bring these topics into awareness, and then, people take what resonates and leave what doesn't.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you
Thank
for this, for asking me to be here, this beautiful moment. And I really appreciate you, and I appreciate this very much.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
To finalize these amazing podcast episodes, I pulled a card from the Trust Journaling deck, and the card that I pulled is from the Truth Suite, and the soul inquiry is: what am I feeling, really feeling right now? What am I feeling, really feeling right now? And the affirmation is: I accept my emotions and let them serve their purpose. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to the Soulcery Podcast and for holding space for this conversation. It is truly magical to be able to walk with you on this journey of soul healing and inner transformation. If you resonated with this episode and found it valuable, I would be grateful if you could leave a review on iTunes. Your feedback helps me reach more souls searching for guidance and healing. For more guidance and soul wisdom to support soul awakening women through the journey of alchemy, please visit my website www.lisiacosta.co.uk. Love and healing to all. See you on the next one.